What's going on, guys? My name is Ryan, and this is my stock market update for 6/18 going into 6/19. So, yesterday was an update. The NASDAQ has managed to eke out 5 up days in a row, and we've got a really good look here. Ever since Monday's reversal, the market's gapped up and held the T line, and volatility really seems like it's been sucked out of the market. And in fact, this kind of reminds me of what happened last October when we got an uptrend. The market just kind of gapped up, and then volatility got sucked out, and we started a lockout rally that lasted a few months. I don't know if that's going to be the case or not, but as of right now, it feels really good. And I know in my last video I made it whenever futures were going on, but clearly futures got cleaned up because futures got all the way down to the T line area. Um, but that's pretty often that futures don't really determine what's going to happen the next day. So I don't put a lot of weight into futures anyways. But for the moment, futures are up. We'll see how today trades. I feel real good. I mean, we're in a bull market until we're not. We are mid-channel, so I'd be careful about putting money to work right now because we're at risk of a pullback to at least the 20-day moving average. And so, yeah, there's that. I'll show you what I'm in. I'll show you what I did yesterday, and I can show you some things that I like around the market and in general. If I was cash, I would definitely cautiously put some money to work today, but I'm not cash. I'm very heavily on margin, so I'll show you what we got and what I'm looking at. Still in Adobe. I'm not selling this stock until it closes below the 21 and then trades for the next morning. Still in ALNY. That's a trade I started this week. As long as this stays above the 50-day moving average, I'm not touching it. Amazon, as long as this stays above the 21, I'm not touching it. Biomarin, as long as it stays above the 21, I'm not touching it. Chegg, as long as it stays above the 34, I'm not going to touch it. Domino's, as long as this is above the 50, I'm not going to touch it. So this is one I might be selling. I'd probably cut half of it today if it broke below 370. Dexcom, as long as it's above the 50, I'm not touching it. As long as GSX closes above the 8-day moving average, I'm not going to touch this position. Labu, as long as this is above the 50, I'm not going to touch this position. LVGO, as long as it's above the 21, not touching it. Melly, if this were to close below the 10-day today, I would not sell it today, but I would be willing to sell half the position on Monday if it looked weak again. NBIX, this is the only thing I did yesterday. I started a small 40% position in this at the close. I would add on to it a little bit if it just has a big up day, and then if it just chops around, I'm going to hold my half. I like NBIX. I think it came out of this cup type structure, and this is the first pullback afterwards, so it's like a J hook. And on the weekly chart of NBIX, it's trying to come out of a really long-term base here, a base since 2019 that it's trying to come out of. So, and it's getting support at the 10-week line, which is a buy point, in my opinion, on any stock. Netflix, as long as it's above the 50, I'm not touching this position. ServiceNow, I would give this thing the 21 plus another morning. Okta, as long as this stays above the 34, I'm not touching it. PayPal, as long as it's above the 20, I'm not touching it. Regeneron, as long as it's above the 50, I'm not going to touch it. Shopify, as long as it's above the 34, I'm not going to touch it. Teradyne, as long as it's above the 21, I'm not going to touch it. Tandem, as long as this stays above the 50, I'm not going to touch it. Twilio, as long as that's above the 21, I'm not going to touch it. Vertex, 50-day moving average. Wingstop, 50-day moving average. And lastly, Zscaler, as long as it's above $100, I'm not touching these positions. So with where I'm at, the time frame I trade on, and how I play, I'm willing to eat a down day right on the chin because we've got so much strength in growth stocks. And I mean, you can see I'm in a lot of trades right now, but almost everything I'm in is up big on the week. Despite a week where the NASDAQ, I guess the NASDAQ is up 3%, but I think the Dow Jones is barely up at all. Yeah, the Dow Jones is up 2%. The S&P is up 2.5%. So on a relatively weak week, I'm having my best week of the year up till now. So I'm gonna try to let that ride because I think the market might have a lot more legs to go. We'll see though. If distribution were to start stacking up and my stock started getting weak, I could be selling, early next week. So, as always, these videos for informational purposes only. Do your own research. Think for yourself. Stocks are risky. I'm putting these videos out there because I think this is the kind of stuff I would have liked to see when I started trading. It would have been nice to see how somebody who does this for a living is making decisions day to day and what they're looking at. Um, I guess I can show you. I guess before I wrap up, I know I was just doing my wrap up, but I can show you a couple of trades that I like going into tomorrow, or I guess today. Um, for one, a lot of the stocks I'm in, I think, are still viable. But looking around the horn, I mean, a few cool little cute ideas that I like. I still like WPM. This is a gold miner. If it can get above the short-term moving averages, I like it. If it can't, I hate this chart. But it needs to get above the short-term moving averages. I kind of like DQ. I almost bought this yesterday. I wouldn't have bought big because of how volatile this stock is, but it's got really crazy earnings and it's kind of tightening up. I think it's going to shoot up and try new high territory. Um, it's got a lot of green volume bars on the right side of this base here. It's a very deep base that it's made, but it's got a very well rounded. You can kind of see it's a cup type base, very deep, but I think it has a chance to run. It's got really good earnings, and Chinese companies have been hot lately. I like Facebook right here. I think Facebook's a buy right here. I think it's a buy right here. I still like this. I've talked about this one before. This TAC. If TAC has an up day today with no tail, I like it as an early entry. Like the way that Fortinet looks. If Fortinet were green today, that's a buy every day of the week. This is a bounce off the 10-week line. I guess it looks better here. Bounce off the 10-week line, which is this pink line on my chart. Then team is the same thing. It's a bounce off the 50-day / 10-week line. That's a buy if it's up today. I like the way EDU looks. If EDU is green at all, this is a cup with handle. It looks pretty good. Cup, there's your handle right here. And it looks better on the weekly chart. You can really see it. It's a cup making a handle. And if that's green today, that's a buy. And it's in a really strong group, really strong stock, great earnings. I actually really like that one. It's one I could see myself taking. And then I like this Fox. Really strong, good company with earnings. It's got a cup with handle type look. Not a very pretty cup though, but it's got really good earnings. And then lastly, I still like Spelunk. Spelunk is making a square box after breaking out of a cup with no handle. So this is an area where one could start a position if they wanted, and you set your stop against the low. So those are some ideas that I like, and that's what I'm in. Let's make some money today. Let's crush this market. Good luck, guys.